Our top story today, an inside look at the front lines of hunger as JRA responds to the challenge of COVID-19. A special conversation with Stephen Katz and JRA's executive director, Jodi Roth-Saks. Celebrating 20 years of doing whatever it takes and the phenomenal leadership of outgoing board chair Daniel Erlbaum. He sits down in a special conversation with the voice of the Philadelphia 76ers, Marc Zumoff. Get an inside look at one family's story of remarkable resilience. With special guest NBC 10 meteorologist Glenn Hurricane Schwartz. Two-time CHOP champion Darius Peacock joins us from his home, where he's cooking up kindness with JRA's pantry ingredients. The day is Sunday, October 25th, 2020. Live from the JRA warehouse, this is Today with JRA. I'm your host, Hadas Kuznits from KYW Newsradio, and good morning. Wow, do we have an excellent show in store for you today. Before we get to today's top story, let's send it over to JRA co-founder Rabbi Menachem Schmidt for some words of inspiration.
Welcome to JRA's 2020 annual live streaming event, celebrating 20 years of doing whatever it takes to end hunger, honoring Daniel Erlbaum, my very dear friend. Well, JRA was doing really well, actually amazingly well before COVID hit. Like a well-oiled machine, every month over 1,000 volunteers came to our warehouse and delivered food to more than 3,000 families, helping something like 6,000 people who were suffering from food insecurity. Everything was great, and then came COVID. As a co-founder and board member, I watched Jodi and the staff scramble as the rules changed almost daily. To serve our community, we needed to rethink and retool, and more than that, more and more people were asking for help. Was it easy? No. But to all of us, it was seamless, amazing, and we served many more folks than ever before, absolutely. And you'll hear more about that. Now, JRA draws on a beautiful tradition that has inspired us from day one, and here are two lessons. How do you say whatever it takes in Jewish? L'chatchila ariber. It's in JRA's DNA. It's a quote from the Rebbe Marash, and it means that when you come to an obstacle, a problem, go right over it. L'chatchila ariber. When you get to a crisis, don't spend a lot of time in deliberation. No, tackle it head on, whatever it takes. The only deliberations you do are how to get it done. Also, today's the 7th day of the Hebrew month of Cheshvan. Today, tradition teaches us that today is the day we begin praying and asking for rain. The mitzvah of prayer is to ask God for whatever you need. If you need it, ask God for it. However, the Jews who set up the prayers were living in Israel, and they said, we need to wait 2 weeks to start this prayer until every single person comes home from visiting Jerusalem from the high holidays. And this will make sure that no one has any difficulty traveling in the rain. Now, does that mean that those people didn't need and didn't want rain in an agricultural society? No, of course not. The lesson is that we should be so laser focused on the needs of others that it defines what we need for ourselves. That's another JRA ideal. Get it done with determination, innovation, and huge sensitivity. That's JRA. When we do our part, then God will do what needs to be done to make sure that it's successful. Now the program. Well, the Torah tells us that somebody who runs after honor, honor runs away from them. But somebody who runs away from honor, honor runs after them. Daniel has never run after this honor or any other. Quite the contrary. He's worked hard to lead JRA with sensitivity, with wisdom, with modesty and love. And judging from the response to this program today, I'm thrilled to say that this honor has run after him after 15 years of amazing service to JRA and our community. I'm very proud to call him a dear and valued friend and really cannot express adequately how happy I am that he's receiving this well-deserved recognition.
Thank you, Rabbi Schmidt, and welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for JRA's first ever virtual annual event to end hunger. I remember coming to JRA years ago for a news story, and what struck me most was how JRA fed not only the bodies of the people they helped, but also their spirits. Some of the people who went to deliver the food at some of JRA's recipients' homes were able to come and sit and chat with them, and those people were so happy to have somebody to talk with them. It was really inspiring to see generations come together over food. We'd like to take a moment to thank JRA's corporate sponsors, whose names you will see on your screen throughout today's show. And we would like to also recognize and thank the Jewish Federation of Greater Philadelphia for their ongoing support of JRA's work. JRA's 2020 annual event to end hunger will focus on the whatever it takes attitude that has guided this organization for 20 years. And JRA would not be where it is today without the bold leadership of Daniel Erlbaum, who has chaired this organization for the past 15 years with his positive can-do philosophy and innovative vision. On today's show, we will meet some of the many faces of JRA. We will see how they have been impacted by the work of JRA and how JRA has inspired them to do more. The coronavirus pandemic has disrupted the lives of each and every one of us. Food pantries throughout the area have closed over the past 8 months. Even before the current crisis, people in communities across the country were struggling. The most recent data on food insecurity collected by Feeding America in 2018 tells us that 16% of Philadelphians were without reliable access to a sufficient quantity of affordable, nutritious food to sustain a healthy life. This is predicted to considerably increase to 21% by the end of 2020, leaving 1 in 4 Philadelphians food insecure. JRA is on the front lines of fighting hunger in Philadelphia. If you are ready to fight with JRA, then text Today 2020 to 50155 to donate now. Together, we will do whatever it takes to support our neighbors in need. And now we go to Hurricane Schwartz with a look at the weather.
Thanks, Hadas. Look, weather, schmether, it doesn't really matter. The JRA volunteers will do whatever it takes in whatever kind of weather there is to get the job done. Hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, ice storms, it doesn't matter. They do everything, no matter what, whatever it takes. Back to you, Hadas.
Thank you so much, Hurricane Schwartz, for that report. Our top story this morning takes a close look at JRA's COVID-19 emergency response and how JRA has been able to adapt in order to achieve their mission to do whatever it takes to ensure that our region's most vulnerable individuals have the support they need and deserve. Joining us this morning are JRA Executive Director Jodi Roth-Saks and Chief Optimist and JRA Board Member Steve Katz.
Hey, Jodi.
Hi, Steve.
So on March 4th, I sat down in a JRA board meeting, and you suggested that this coronavirus thing was something that we should really keep an eye on. And you asked the board members to volunteer for a special task force. A couple people raised their hands. A couple people were surprised. So tell me, what happened in the weeks that followed that?
So the next couple weeks that followed were pretty chaotic, but we got our board together, we got our staff together, and then we strategized to figure out what we needed to do first. If you don't know too much about JRA and food insecurity, I think it's important to tell you that 1 in 9 individuals in the U.S. is currently struggling with food insecurity. Here in Philadelphia, that number is 1 in 5. So JRA works to support about 6,400 individuals who are food insecure each month through our monthly food distribution. We pack about 3,850 boxes right now to be able to support all of those individuals who need us during the pandemic. We knew that finding an expert was really imperative to the process. So one of the board members put me in touch with Dr. Megan McGinty. who was an invaluable member of our team. Dr. McGinty was with us every step of the way to help us figure out what our safety protocols were going to look like, to figuring out what our logistics needed to be in the warehouse. We started that first day with 30 people, but a couple days in, we were only allowed to have 10. So we did whatever we could to get the food packed, and we were lucky enough to get it all packed by March 22nd, which was our distribution day.
Jodi, I hear the whatever it takes moment didn't end there.
The Jewish Federation housing complex wanted us to deliver at night when it was a little quieter. So we delivered at 6 p.m., which really helped our senior population, which is the most vulnerable among us to COVID-19, because we didn't come in contact with that many people in those buildings. So Bill Novick, our new incoming board chair, as you know, he's pretty fantastic. He borrowed a company truck. We loaded it with the 800 boxes that needed to go to Jewish Federation housing, and we delivered them all with a really small team of volunteers and staff. It was definitely a whatever it takes moment for JRA, but we got the job done, and our partners over at Federation Housing and the Jewish Federation of Greater Philadelphia were wonderful partners throughout the process.
Wow, that's great. You used to have 1,000 volunteers in the warehouse every single month. How did you pivot to keep people safe when you couldn't have 25 people during the red phase?
When you have a group of determined individuals who are willing to do whatever it takes to support those in our community in crisis, the only option is to succeed. The board's executive committee and the chief of operations, Julie Rowe, and I met regularly to talk about how to make the seemingly impossible possible. The run on grocery stores radically affected the food chain and how we got our food. We needed to order masks, hand sanitizer, and gloves for staff and volunteers, and we needed to change our entire distribution. We started having everybody wear masks in April, and then recently we added a COVID-19 screening instrument, just like the one you would see at a doctor's office. Now we're keeping everybody safe in the warehouse and through our no-contact delivery system. It isn't just those changes to our protocol that's keeping folks safe. In the wake of 3.3 million Americans filing for unemployment, we knew hiring a part-time labor force to pack the box of food alongside our volunteers was really the only way we were going to be able to keep our no-contact delivery process afloat. We were able to hire recently unemployed individuals, including a couple of our JRA recipients. In less than a month, we transformed and reimagined our logistics.
So how are you keeping both the JRA clients and the volunteer families safe during the food delivery during these crazy times?
All of the volunteers who drive up to our warehouse to deliver food for the individuals in the community, they each received a safety orientation upon arrival by our volunteer program manager. And before they drive to the back of the warehouse, they've got their delivery packet and they know all about our knock, drop, and go policy, where individuals knock on the door, they put the box down and they take a step back. They call the client to let them know they delivered, but they never come in contact with one another. So they're staying safe. And when the JRA volunteers get all the food packed into their car at the warehouse, again, there's social distancing happening. All of the volunteers are wearing face masks and they're using hand sanitizer. And the individual who's going to be making that delivery, they remain in their car the whole time while the other volunteers are packing their car full of boxes and other supplies. So really, we're looking at all of our logistics and figuring out how do we keep both our volunteers, our staff, and our clients as safe as possible.
Wow. Things are constantly changing, but as of June of this year, the unemployment rate in Philly was almost 18%. Families were facing the consequences of the pandemic for a while already. So how has JRA's role in the community expanded in the last 6 months? And what role do you see JRA playing in the near future and beyond?
With 74 food pantries closing in our region, we've seen a huge uptick of individuals who are reaching out to our services. Many of those food pantries reopened. However, we've seen the number of our clients increase dramatically. Typically, JRA averages 24 new client households a month. Since March, we've received 494 new households asking to be part of our food distributions. That number is staggering. Many are asking for food for the very first time.
JRA is working with an incredibly diverse population, including kids who are missing out on free school lunches every day, because their district is virtual, and all the way to 90-year-old Holocaust survivors who just worry about getting sick. Does JRA offer any different populations, different services, and have any new initiatives begun because of the pandemic?
We offer different services to both our families with children and seniors. Let's start with the seniors. So JRA supports 3,500 individuals over the age of 65. About 980 of those are above the age of 85. And we serve 344 Holocaust survivors. And we want to take special care of our senior population because they're most vulnerable to COVID-19. So our seniors are experiencing all different things right now than the general public. You know, they're so worried about going to the doctor or the pharmacy. They're experiencing anxiety and isolation, and they have very specific nutritional needs that we need to address. So we're really trying to do a little bit extra for our seniors. We serve about 700 kids in our community. So our newest program for kids is this USDA Farmers to Families program, where we're providing a box of nutritious produce alongside our box of 15 pounds of food and personal protective equipment and a bag of family-friendly food, which has kid-friendly food like peanut butter and jelly and granola bars.
Thanks, Jodi. Katz family's in, and I hope everybody else is as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have late-breaking news, and it's great news. Here's an opportunity for you once again to contribute to JRA, only this time, 2 generous donors have stepped forward, and they will match your donations dollar for dollar up to $27,000. So here's the math. You contribute $27,000, they contribute $27,000. That's a total of $54,000. It's enough to feed 500 families over the next 6 months. These are your friends, your neighbors. We're talking about seniors, other individuals, children. 500 families over the next 6 months, thanks to JRA. Donate whatever you can, and it will make twice the impact. Here's all you need to do. Just text 50155. That's 50155. And once you get there, put in to the text box, Today 2020. That's Today 2020. And then all you have to do is follow the prompts and make that contribution and see it matched as well. Now let's get back to Hadas in the JRA warehouse.
It is truly amazing what JRA has been able to do under the most extreme conditions. However, the whatever it takes attitude isn't something new to JRA. It comes from the enduring leadership of the phenomenal outgoing board chair, Daniel Erlbaum. Marc Zumoff is here to take a look back with Daniel.
20 years ago, Daniel's brother Marc had a wild idea to feed every hungry Jew in Philadelphia. Little did we know that we would build the largest volunteer organization in Philly. Daniel will be the first one to let you know that he didn't do this on his own, but rather, as he always says, JRA allows each one of us to do good in this world. He's really instrumental in creating a vehicle, a brand, that allows each one of us to have ownership in the organization. JRA at its core, in its DNA, is a scrappy startup. Daniel and his leadership always keeps that the central focus, allowing the organization to grow, but retain the get your hands dirty spirit that our volunteers have.
Daniel Erlbaum has a magical way of making everyone feel respected and seen. He honors the individual needs of JRA's clients and their families, but also JRA's employees and board members like myself. He truly is our guide and pushes us to be creative and innovative. Outside of JRA, he cares deeply for our community, from seniors to children. Daniel the Prophet was a man of great wisdom and set an example that encouraged others. Daniel Erlbaum leads by example as well.
You know, when I look in the dictionary under the word mensch, I expect to see Daniel's picture. He really embodies all the attributes of that word.
Once a month, you can count on seeing Daniel at the JRA warehouse, greeting every single one of what could be 1,000 volunteers that enter to pack boxes. He smiles, he hugs, he shakes hands, and he represents JRA with pride from a place that is from such obvious love.
At JRA, we have a saying, JRA is nothing without you. Daniel always takes the time to note accomplishments, thanking people in the most sincere way. He inspires great trust is clear in his communications, and truly, truly, truly compassionate.
Sometimes I get a little jealous of Daniel's Menschie superpowers, but at the end of the day, I am honored to work beside him and ride his cape tails.
While this chapter is closing, I have no doubt this will not be the end of Daniel's impact on JRA, and I will be right beside him making it happen. After all, when a great leader calls, you answer yes, even before he asks.
Daniel Erlbaum, it's so great to see you, and I can see that you're a Sixers fan. Look at those pictures over your shoulder. That's terrific.
Big fan of the Sixers, big fan of you, Marc.
I wasn't sure if anybody liked me, but you're the one who does. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
I am.
You're very kind.
A real pleasure to have the chance to have this talk with you.
You've been a fan since the Dr. J era. Of course, you've gone through the process with all of us. I'm wondering if you can relate anything from the process to the JRA success story.
When I think about the process, two things. One, shooting for greatness rather than settling for mediocrity, and two, defying conventional wisdom. And it just so happens that those two things are the entire foundation of the JRA story. So our guiding vision from the get-go, talking about shooting for greatness, was find a way to feed every single Jewish family in Philadelphia was hungry. That was our charge from our founders, my brother Marc, my Rabbi Menachem. But Zu, there is something that separates JRA's process from the Sixers one, and it has to do with people. I'll say success against an ambitious and unconventional agenda takes the involvement of great people up and down an organization. JRA's total success has been a function of having the right people around it. I hate to take a dig at my basketball team because I love them dearly, but that's where I'd say it's fallen down a bit for those guys. The greatest ideas and the greatest plans are only viable if its stakeholders are firstly capable and secondly unwaveringly committed to the vision.
You've spoken about people, and you serve an estimated 3,800 families. You mobilize, and this is an astounding number, some 12,000 volunteers. Fine-tune this for me, if you would. What do you most attribute the success and growth of JRA to?
Well, as I said before, it has much to do with Marc and Menachem's determination and the fact that Marc, my brother, was willing to carry JRA on his back in the formative years. But it also has to do with the model just being the right concept at the right time. People want to connect with the good they're doing and be part of something meaningful, and that's what JRA uniquely provides. People of all walks of life come together in our warehouse to pack boxes in assembly line fashion. There's music playing. The energy's honestly a bit like a Sixers game. And then they leave the warehouse. The volunteers go out to make the deliveries to our recipient families, and they're seeing the struggles of those we serve up front and personal. They see firsthand the joy and relief that our packages bring, that our smiles bring, that our children bring. And after that, they're just totally hooked. And that's how we've become what we've become.
And you've become this in spite of a number of terrible events that have occurred during the lifetime of JRA. We're talking about 9/11. We're talking about the recession of 2008. We're talking about a canceled gala in 2013 where you took your food that was unused and you distributed it. And of course, now 2020 with the pandemic. What has enabled JRA to continue to be client-centric and mission-focused?
That starts with our board, which is a group of people truly committed to getting their hands dirty, like literally dirty, rather than just advising or fundraising for the organization. Our board has been in the trenches from the beginning, doing errands, big and small. They have demonstrated what grassroots done right looks like, and their do whatever it takes ethic has been adopted by an entire community of volunteers. I guess there's no greater proof of the commitment of our community than that not one box has gone undelivered through this pandemic.
When I think of children 6 or under, I think of little kids who maybe have a limited attention span and just like to have fun, but you actually have a Tiny Tots program where children who are 6 or under actually pack boxes for you. What's the philosophy behind that?
Little people will be our big people, and there's no better way to build a kind and compassionate community than to engage young people as early as possible so they can see firsthand what kindness looks like, what compassion looks like. And that program has been very successful. And you ask about that program, the staff are the ones who brought to us the Tiny Tots program. Coming into this pandemic, they spent countless hours and sleepless nights making sure we transformed our model immediately to make our food distributions work amidst all these new rules. No crowds over 10 people, social distancing guidelines, new cleaning standards, et cetera. And doing so with no time to prepare boggles my mind.
15 years of leadership, and now you are choosing to pass the board chair baton even as we speak. Why now? Why is this the time to do that?
Because I've never felt more confident about the people around the organization. People who will take JRA to greater heights than I ever could. Top to bottom, we have people who are good and people who care, and having assembled that group is my crowning achievement. So time for the next leader to make the most of it.
After 15 years with JRA as its leader, you will still be participating in the group in some form or fashion, isn't that right?
Yes, I am passing on the title of chair, but I am in no way, nor could I ever remove myself from this organization. I care too much. I love it too much. The good that we do is too great. And whether it's selfish or not, I can't let it go.
Well, Daniel, the aspect of Tikkun Olam, repairing the world, is something that all of us need to heed, and we will continue to do so to our last breath. And you've done an amazing job with JRA. Long may you continue, along with the organization, to wave, and thank you so much for joining me.
Amen. Thank you, Zoo. Such a pleasure.
"15 years of honest leadership. Daniel, thank you for all that you've done and will continue to do for JRA. Next up, we're cooking with care. Ever wonder what delicious meals you can make with the ingredients in the JRA box? Here's your chance to find out. Darius Peacock comes to us from Columbus, New Jersey, where he's been making sure that children are receiving delicious and nutritious meals at school. You may have seen Darius on Food Network's Chopped, where he was crowned champion and then returned to win Chopped Champions. I can't wait to see what Darius cooks up for us today.
Thanks, Hadas. Hey guys, thank you very much for having me. I'm humbled and I'm greatly honored to be here before you today. And what you guys are doing with JRA and all of your donations is helping feed hundreds and hundreds of people. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for all that you do. So you may be thinking, why would JRA get this 6'1", 300-pound black guy to talk about kosher food? Well, he just happens to be the two-time Chopped champion, seasons 1 and 2. And he also did a whole bunch of stuff within the kosher community. But enough about me. Let's talk about you and how each and every dollar that you donate helps a family eat. So I'm going to get in this JRA box and show you what people can do with the stuff that you provide. So guys, based on what we have in the box today, I'm going to try to do something a little different. It's going to take me back home a little bit to when I was a kid and what my mother used to make me. She used to make salmon cakes. And we're going to change things up a little bit. We're going to make a little date couscous with that. And I'll pull something out of my fridge, some fresh broccoli, and we'll do some steamed broccoli with that. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take the salmon cakes, we're going to drain the liquid out. We'll just get all the flesh and throw it into a bowl. With that, we're going to add fresh squeezed lemon. We're going to add diced celery, fresh onion, diced onion, a little mayonnaise, and a little mustard, just a skosh of hot sauce. For those of you who want a little spice it up a touch. And then we're going to mix all of that up together. And after we mix it up and it's not too wet, we're going to take 1 egg white and we're going to whip that up and then put that in, and that'll be our emulsifier. That's what's going to hold the cake together without adding breadcrumbs, because some of us don't need those extra calories, if you know what I mean. Once we make this cake, then we're going to take a saute pan, get it nice and hot, add a little oil, and then we're going to saute it on each side for 3.5 minutes. Each side for 3.5 minutes until golden brown. You want to get this little nice color right here. After that, we're going to do the couscous. Couscous, as most of us know, is a grain. We'll take the grain, we're going to put it in boiling water. If you guys want to just add a little extra flavor, I like to use a little veggie stock inside it, just instead of using plain water, just to give it a little extra flavor. Again, a little salt, a little pepper. And we're also going to put a little onions and a little celery. Once the couscous comes to a boil, we're going to put the cover on it and let it sit until it's completely cooked and all of the water is absorbed into the couscous. Once the couscous is finished, we're going to take freshly diced dates and we're going to fold that into the couscous. We're not going to stir it vigorously because we don't want to break up the grain. We're just going to fold it into the couscous, and then that'll also be ready to serve. And then we can go to plate, and you guys should have something pretty good to eat. Guys, 1 second. We have breaking news from Marc Zumoff. Marc, what do you have for us?
All right, guys, don't forget, once again, your contributions today being matched dollar for dollar. Text 50155, that's 50155. Put Today 2020 in the box, follow the prompts, and make your contribution right now.
Wow, thanks, Marc. That is amazing news. Guys, hurry up. If you act now, your donation counts twice. Act now.
Looks delicious. Thank you, Darius, for that exquisite chopped-worthy dish. Our final segment on today's show is the inspiring story of Hillel Bat Yoha and Loida Reyes and their family as they share the story of their journey from Ecuador to the Jewish community of Northeast Philadelphia.
My name is Hillel Bat Yoha. I'm 4 years old. My wife Chaviva, Devorah Shoshana. She is 8 years old. This is Levi Shmuel. And Chaya Jodi, she is 3 years old. We are from Ecuador, South America. In Ecuador, I was working for a company from Europe, so we didn't have economic challenges at all. The Jewish life in Ecuador was very difficult for us. There's no kosher food. Yeah, there's no Orthodox community there. Sometimes you can go to the community and you can have a minyan. That is very difficult. So we spoke with several Rabbanim there, and they said that you really have to move. If you want to grow your family, the Jewish family, you have to leave Ecuador. I'm a senior IT engineer. I'm working with computers, Microsoft, Cisco networks for almost 16, 17 years. And this company I was working for, they sent me here to the US to be trained. So I was coming back and forth. So that's how we discovered Philly. Philly was not even in our plans. And then when I met some very unbelievable people here in Philadelphia and Bala-Cynwyd, there were a lot of companies that were calling me before, but after these pandemics, of course, they are not hiring new people. Where I think the most difficult part of staying here has been how to support my family. It's been difficult, but Hashem have blessed us with family, with school, friends. We have a lot of help from JRA because we have basic stuff that we really need it for sure, even for the kids. Now, I remember that when the pandemic started, and we couldn't even, people was worried, buying a lot of things.
Detergent.
Yeah, it's
basic stuff for our house.
Yeah.
And for the snack for the kids, and from all of us, thank you. My kids are very excited every time that the boxes came in. What we have now?
Yeah.
We have pretzels.
Yes, they run up in the boxes. What do you have? No,
Thank you very much, because I think that this is an organization that is always looking to help everybody in our community, and that's very special.
Yeah.
Thank you, Hillel and Loida, for sharing your courageous story with our audience today, a story not that dissimilar to many families JRA supports throughout its work. JRA's monthly food distribution has become a lifeline for many hardworking families, individuals, and especially children and seniors living in fear of not having enough to eat. Over the past few months, as JRA has adapted to the challenging circumstances brought on by COVID-19, they've incurred increased costs in food and hygiene products, hired a labor force to get the job done, brought in a regular cleaning service, and even rented a refrigerated trailer. JRA is doing whatever it takes to sustain and surpass their program model, feeding more people than ever before. Now more than ever, our community needs JRA, and JRA needs you. If you're ready to do whatever it takes to make a meaningful impact in your community, then text Today 2020 to 50155 and donate to JRA now. Thank you all for joining us this morning for Today with JRA. Thank you again to JRA's sponsors and to the Jewish Federation of Greater Philadelphia. To the JRA staff, the board of directors, and each of JRA's incredible volunteers and donors, thank you for doing whatever it takes.